Afternoon to all. Today we are focused on the study of stem and their modifications. We know that the stem is the vegetative part of the plant body. It grows upwards and produces the shoot system from the plumule. The shoot system consists of the main axis, branches and the leaves. Now let us focus on the stem. What is stem? The stem is defined as the ascending aerial part of the axis, aerial part of the plant or the axis of the plant body growing away from the gravity towards the light. The stem is having the certain different characteristics. It is an ascending axis which produces the leaves, branches and the flowers. It shows nodes and internodes. It is usually solid and cylindrical. Sometimes it is hollow by some exceptional cases. It produces the apical shoot, that is known as the apical apex, and the axillary buds in the axils of the leaves. Now we will see about the different types of the stem. There are main two types generally. One is the strong stem and other is a weaker stem. Say for an example of the strong stem, that is a mango stem and the sunflower, and some of the weaker stem like the Clitoria ternacea. So as we basically the stem having the function, the stem is the aerial portion of the plant body which gives the support and produces the many leaves on the taxon, and these leaves performing very important function of the photosynthesis, and with the help of this process of the photosynthesis the leaves produces the food material in the form of starch, carbohydrates, vitamins, etc. The stem has distinct nodes and internodes and perform the conduction of the food. Now let us focus on the different modification of the stem. There are the three main kinds of the modifications of the stem. These are the underground modification of stem, aerial modification of stem and subaerial modification of stem. Now in underground modification of stem, that will be categorized into the four different types. The first one is the rhizome, second one is a tuber, and third one is the bulb, fourth one is a corm. In case of the subaerial modification of stem, there are again the four different types. It is categorized into four different types, namely runners, stolons, offset, suckers. These are the certain subaerial modifications. And aerial modification of the stem, it is also categorized into the four to five types. They may be a stem tendril, they may be a thorn, phylloclade, cladodes and the bulbils. Now let us see one by one. First of all, we are focusing on the underground modification of stem. The underground modification means the stem which is growing below the soil, not above the soil, it is growing below the soil, and that type of the modification of the stem is called as a underground modifications. Now first, that is rhizome. The rhizome is a fleshy stem which grows horizontally below the soil surface, and it has distinct nodes and internodes. It produces the scale leaves on the nodal portion and axillary buds which is develops from their scale. Say for an example, that is ginger, canna indica, turmeric. These are the certain examples of the underground stem, that is rhizome. Now second, that is tuber. That tuber is a swollen part. It has produces the eye buds as in the form of nodal portion or the node, and it it stored the amount of the food material in the form of starch, and that's why that it just like a tuber, and that is a knob like structure. That is why it is called as a tuber. Say for an example is a potato. Now third, that is third type of underground modification of stem is the bulb. It is the underground modification of stem in which it bounds the many scale leaves around them, and centrally there is located a small bulb like structure, and the best example is the onion, that is Allium cepa. This is the best example of that bulbs. Now let us turn towards the last type of the underground modification of stem, that is corm. So it is also the one of the modification of underground stem. It swells at the base and showing into the distinct nodes and internodes, and it produces below the soil, hence it is called as a corm, and it is bulbous mass like structure as like a tuber, and the example of this corm is a colocasia. Now let us focus on the another type of the modification, that is the second modification of stem is a subaerial modification of stem. In this type of the subaerial modification of stem, the partial part of the stem is growing above the soil and partially growing below the soil. So that's why it is called as a subaerial modification of the stem. So it has